Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this Captain Fantastic pinball machine, and we have just reinstalled the Playfield. We're going to work on the bottom of the Playfield today, and maybe in the back box a little bit. That would be next. So we'll take a look at it and see what we can get into. Now, if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, we have a Neo Geo arcade game that we just fixed up, and so it's running through its track mode doing some stuff. Maybe you can identify which games are playing by just hearing the sound. But we did a video where we showed the condition that this thing was in whenever we got it in, including the cool, super cool, ultra awesome back glass on Captain Fantastic, you know, considered one of the very best of the electromechanical games. And then we did one where we worked down in the bottom of it a little bit on this bottom board. And then we did, well, now we're doing one where we're working on the bottom of the playfield. So it's kind of complex. It's got a lot of stuff here and there, and it's a 4-flipper game. That's always fun. So what order should we work through it in? I think I'm going to do like I usually do and work on my light bulbs first. I'm just basically going to replace all of the bulbs. Some people are putting LEDs in the electromechanicals now. I'm not really a big fan of LEDs in the older games. So I'm just going to put the incandescents back in it and get it to look kind of like it looked back in the day. So very first thing I'm going to do, start pulling the bulbs out and replacing them with new. Now the little inserts you can sometimes clean up if you use like a Q-tip or something. They're driving me crazy on this phone here. Hold on a second. Let me get the phone. Alright, so sometimes you need to clean up these inserts. These ones that are the star inserts are a little bit harder just because they have multiple facets. But these bulbs, they get like soot on them over time, and some of the inserts get really dirty. So like, for instance, that one. Look at all that soot. So you got to clean that up when you do it. So you can use a Q-tip. Just anything you can get in there. Another thing that I use is a paintbrush. I've got just a little cheap chip brush that's like a 1-inch brush, and you can just get down in there and kind of dust it. Use it as a duster, basically. So that sometimes gets most of it out, and then if you still have dirt, you can clean it up. So I'm going to just go through and replace each bulb one by one by one by one by one by one by one. I don't know if we'll be able to test that yet, though. So we may have to wait till we play it to get the bulbs to all come on where we can see if they're working. This particular game isn't working yet. Whenever we hit start, it just goes straight back to game over. So we haven't been able to figure that out yet. But it's coming. Stay tuned. So I'll work through and swap all the light bulbs first. If I run into anything strange, I will let you know. Alright folks, I think that's all of the bulbs. Something happened right there. That must have been some kind of smoke or some kind of smoke damage. I also found that one. Look at that. Burnt slap the heck up. So you can see there used to be a wire down here that went up to it. And whenever we cleaned out the bottom, I did find a little piece of blue wire with a burnt up socket on the end, so it was from that. So we'll have to replace that as well. So we have that to worry about, and we have our wires, a couple wires down here that we're still trying to find the right connector for. But I got all the light bulbs swapped out. Like I said, we can't test them yet, though, because we can't get the game to start. If you try to just hit the game over relay, it immediately goes back into game over mode. Okay, so I'm going to next work on the switches. Usually I don't do this with the lights on as well, because if you have voltages, it's easier to short it out with something like the edge of the paintbrush or something. You know? But I'll turn it off, and then I'm going to go through and just clean the switches like we do. We use an old file that's not very aggressive to just clean everything like we did with all of the relays. So I'll just start at the bottom, go through each switch, clean all the contacts. Got a couple relays up here that aren't marked, so I don't even know what they go to. Looks like that one says S. But we'll figure that out if we end up having problems out of them. Eventually something won't work right, and we'll have to figure that out. But yeah, I'll clean the switches next, and if I see anything interesting, I will show it to you. All right, so I worked through the switches, and then I started looking at the flippers a little bit, because there's 4. And I want to show you something. You can't see it on this one, but basically, you know, we're not going to rebuild them yet because we haven't even played it. We can't play the game yet. But you can tell what general condition they're in by looking at the links. You'll see the wear right here first. So watch how when I move this. See how the link moves independent of the plunger a little bit? So see how there's just a little bit of play there? You might think, oh, that's screwed up. Well, these are older machines, and they just had a little bit of play in them. So this is a new plunger, and if you look, new, there is a little bit of play in it even when it's new. Let me see if I can lay it down where you can see it a little better. Well, this is a two-hand job, people. I want to show you that it moves. It's hard to see it because it's not mounted. It moves. It doesn't move quite as much as that one, though. So this one has a little bit of wear in it, which is to be expected. But it's not a ton of wear. You see it's got a little bit of movement. A brand new one will have about half that amount of movement. Is that enough to make it where it doesn't fire strong? Who knows? We're going to find out whenever we get it to play. And all 4 of them seem to be about the same. Got just a little bit of play right there, okay? So that's the first thing you look for. Another thing I wanted to show you is, if you look, Bally, because Bally had it going on, people. Now, I'm not saying they were better than Williams or better than Gottlieb. I like all 3 of them. I like Sonic. I like all of them. Every one I've ever played, I pretty much like. But they knew what they were doing. Bally was not screwing around, right? So if you look at this flipper, so this is the right flipper. Look right there. See those 2 screw holes with no screws in them, but see the rust around it? And then up there, see the 2 screw holes with no screws in them, but you see the rust around it? The reason that's like that is because at some point someone has taken that flipper from over here and moved it over there. They're reversible. So they made one plate for all of the flippers. So they're all the same. So you see right here how you have the unused screw holes there that don't have any rust or anything on them? Well, this is a secondary flipper. You see these main flippers on this game, they've been reversed. So basically, if you start getting wear where the screws that hold the flipper, the coil stop on and all of that, if you start getting things like that where the holes are wallowed out or something, you can swap them because they're reversible. So this one here at some point was a left one, and at some point this one was the right one. You can see where they've swapped it. So they must have had a screw hole or something that wasn't quite right. Now what does that really mean? It means that somebody has already messed with the flippers at least at some point in its life. So then you have so that's one thing to look for is play there, right? You can see a little bit of play like from here to the link too. Anytime you have play, it's going to make you not quite as strong. But again, like I said, the brand new parts have play in them too, so you're never going to get it completely tight. And then this is the end of stroke switch. You want to get that as clean as possible so that whenever this switch mates with that switch, it does it flat so that you get as much surface as possible touching each other. And when it moves, it should move. The switch, when it moves, it should move through the other switch a little bit. So both switches should move a little bit. That way you know they're really touching each other. But since those have that arc a lot every time the flipper opens, we get on those pretty aggressively to try to clean up the switches. These are another thing that you can buy new. If you start getting a lot of wear there, you can just buy new end of stroke switches. But that looks pretty good after we filed them down a little bit. It's good enough to at least test with. Now the other thing that you can do to really help them is this little sleeve here that the plunger goes through into the coil. The little nylon sleeve. It's always a good idea to replace those. And they're cheap, so I'm talking 50 cents or something. But for now, we're going to leave it how it is until we play it and see which ones need rebuilt, or if any of them need rebuilt, or they are still strong. Okay, so we did all the switches. I also did the drop targets. Just cleaned those switches too. On the drop targets, you don't really have to take them all apart. I actually usually just clean the faces of the targets from above. If you want it to be super clean, you could take all this apart and take them out and clean the dirt off of the targets, but it's not going to make it play any better. The pop bumpers, there is a switch that the little this little spoon here, whenever the ball hits the thing on the top, it closes that switch, which makes this come in, which makes another switch connect, which gives you points. So I cleaned those as well. Nothing really critical there. So we did all the light bulbs. We did all the switches. I looked at the drop targets while I was at it. We looked at the flippers because of the end of stroke switches while we were at it. Everything looks cool. These 3 little relays I cleaned while I was cleaning the other switches. This switch right there is from the kicker. So whenever the ball hits the switch on the top, it connects power to this, which pulls this lever, which kicks the ball away from the rubber up at the top, and it closes this switch here, which is what gives you your points. Clean those. Everything looks cool. So on the bottom, we're kind of down to this bonus unit here. So just like, any stepper, they work the same. This one makes it step up a certain number of turns. And if you see right there, there is a tooth missing. That's so that whenever it gets to that point, it can no longer turn. So that's its final position. It's probably a 15 position. And then when it goes back, instead of resetting all the way back to 1, it resets 1 at a time. And the reason it does that is so that it can count the bonus as it goes. As you can see, this one's pretty gummy. And look how dirty it is. Somebody has put some kind of bad grease on here. Did you know there was good grease and bad grease? Don't put bad grease on stuff, people. It's just all gummy and blech. It needs to be cleaned. And so on this side, you have this little spider here with just 2 legs on it. And as it spins around, it connects to one wire, and then the other one connects to a rivet over here. If you could see on the back, most of the rivets, it doesn't look like have wires even on them. So we just need to clean all that up and everything. So first thing I'll do is let me see if I can clean up some of this crap. And it's like, I don't know what the heck that is. Let me clean it up a little bit, and we'll see if we can get it to spin a little better. So you can see all of that grease and dirt inside of the shaft. Usually you don't have that, but if someone's oiled it, you do. So this thing was pretty filthy. I got it a lot cleaner now, though. Whenever you take it out, you have to take the switch loose so it doesn't hit that on the way, and you have to unwind this spring. So it was 2 1/4 revolutions. You kind of have to keep that straight. And what keeps it from, whenever it resets, what makes it reset back to its original position is this little tooth here will hit the edge somewhere. Will hit something and stop. So that's what keeps it from going all the way, from just continuously spinning. So take it off, put it back about how you had it. It was about like that when I took it off. And then got about 2 1/4 revolutions to get it back, but I got to clean out inside there first. Okay, so I got it back together. Seems to be working well. And then on this side, got it all cleaned up. So we have the new product that somebody sent us. Greg sent us this. It's a Japanese rock that's like a pumice, I don't know, that you clean steak knives with. The only reason I said steak knives is because I always think of Japanese knives as steak knives. So you clean steak knives with these, but it works pretty good on cleaning up the rivets. I usually use sandpaper. When this runs out, I'll probably start using sandpaper again until I get other ones in. But it does shine them up pretty nice. So, if you're looking for any of these, go to our website. It's like a sponge, but it's like a rock. But it's more like a sponge, but it's really hard. And so it's supposed to take rust off of steak knives. Let's give it a little shot here. See that rust right there? Let's see if it'll do it. Well, I'll be damned. Pretty good stuff, really. I mean, it's pretty cool. Thank you, Greg. We appreciate that, buddy. I'm going to put these on my website. So if you want any of these, go on my website. Because you can't tell what they are because of the Japanese symbols. But I got the link on my website. And then I put a little bit of synthetic grease on it so that it spins around nicely. You just grease the rivets so that it electrically makes contact. So we got that on our website too. It's just links to this on Amazon. You can find both of these on Amazon. We don't actually sell it ourselves. But if you go to our website, lionsarcade.com, we have links to these on our parts page. Go check it out. If you buy anything after you go to Amazon through one of our links, it gives us a tip. So thank you to everybody that's been doing that. So we've got the bonus unit done. The pop bumpers, everything looked cool. You see that little spacer that's out of place there? What in the world? So I think next is maybe I'll go ahead and replace that light bulb we were talking about earlier. And then we're about ready to lay it down and see if this changed anything. So our problem has been when we start it, it immediately goes into game over. I don't think anything on the bottom of the playfield could do that. I would have thought it would have been something down there, but that didn't fix it. So we're still working through it. Once we get everything cleaned, we will go zero in on it and figure it out with the schematics. But let me see if I've got a socket that we can replace that one and a little piece of wire. Let me go get my stuff. So So one of the good things about working on machines is that they make a lot of the parts. That's just a generic light bulb socket, and they still make them exactly the same, or very close to the same at least. So here's the old one. What happened? What in the world happened there, people? What's up with that? Look at it. Ew, look at that. Look, the seam even came apart. What's going on? Some kind of fire. Ah, look, it's been replaced. Looks perfect. Very satisfying. It's cool fixing an old one, you know, like fixing something that's probably been messed up a long time. You finally get it right. There it is. Now hopefully that one will last 40 years like this one did. Okay. I can't think of anything else to do on the bottom with the exception of we'll probably have to rebuild some of the flippers or something. Oh, I fixed the little thing there where the little spacer was sticking out too. Just for all you perfectionists. Let me lay the playfield back down, and then we'll see if it does anything different. Now that we've got everything clean, I personally don't think that it will, but we'll see. Okay, folks, so we plugged it back up. The little socket we were just working on is that one back there. I haven't got a bulb in it yet, though. We'll get to it. So we're going to try to start it and see if the thing will do anything. There's a festival going on, so we keep having people come in. Okay, so I'm going to try to reset it. Remember how it won't start. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a couple of these reels just so that it has to reset something, because right now it's already reset. I wish I could get to the player unit. Can I? Maybe I can. Trying to reach around in the back and move the come on, baby. Oh, there we go. Nope, wrong one. Well, I was trying to move the player unit around too. We'll just try it like it is. I got one reel there that's not on 0. So if you watch Ball and Play, you'll see that it tries to start a game and then goes back into game over, unless we've somehow fixed it by working on the bonus unit. And that's that. So let's try it again. So the game just is not starting. It's stuck in game over. So we're still chasing our gremlin. It did reset our drop targets. That's cool. I think don't the lights come on the playfield for just a second? Yep. So we're getting there, people. So it must be something in the back box or something we missed down in the bottom. So I think what we'll do next, just because they're sitting here, is we'll mess with these chimes so I can get them mounted back in there. But we're not going to be able to hear them yet. Let's take a look at the chimes and see if we can get them cleaned up a little bit and mounted back where they go. So here's our chime box. Pretty cool little device. Someone was asking on a previous video if we had one for sale. For their Captain Fantastic, actually, and we don't have any parts for sale, but they make a brand new one of these, believe it or not. So if you search on Google Bally chime box, you'll see one pop up. They make an entire new plug it in the machine box just like this. I haven't tried it or anything, but it's out there. Okay, so this one is an interesting one because someone has worked on it. The grommets haven't completely fallen apart yet, so it looks like they're still good. Look at this. I actually ordered new grommets just so we'd have them whenever we do these chime boxes. You need 6 for each chime box, and you can get them from Marco. A lot of people have them, but chime grommet black. If you don't know about Marco, they're right down the road from us here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. They're about an hour away in Lexington, South Carolina, down below Columbia, but just barely below Columbia. They're like part of Columbia. and it's pretty much the biggest pinball parts place in the world. They don't really say that, but it's the truth. They've got more stuff than anybody. I really like them, and I like the Pinball Resource because the Pinball Resource kind of focuses on EMs, and so I kind of like that. So if those grommets are worn out, it will allow the metal to slap around a little bit too much, and it is actually slapping the box. But we'll see how it sounds if I hit it with something. Sounds pretty good, actually. We're going to take it apart and clean it, though. The other thing is they have replaced 2 of these coils with CJ31 2000s. And I believe we figured out that that's not the right freaking coil. What's that say? That says CJ29 1600. So it's a 29 gauge wire, and it's wrapped around 1600 times. This one is a 31 gauge wire, which is a little thinner, and it's wrapped around 2000 times. So how are we going to tell if this will work? Well, I'm going to measure the resistance and see if it's similar. Resistance isn't really the best way to do it, but it's the only way I can do it. So the reason they look pretty much the same is because these are Chime coils. It might have been that maybe these are for a little bit newer version or a little bit older version, or maybe these are for a Williams or something. I don't know. But I'm going to get the multimeter and we'll check the resistance on the new one and the old one and see if they're similar. So I'm sure there's math to figure that out. So one is 29 gauge 1600 revolutions, and one is 31 gauge 2000 revolutions. I'll bet there is a formula to figure out if those are the same. Kind of sounds like they might be. If they're close, we're going to leave it. Maybe some other operator or some other tech did this on purpose. So we're just going to check the resistance of an old one. So an original one. Well, 28.2 ohms resistance. Now, my meter's usually off about 0.2, or is it 0.02? Let's see. Pretty close. It's because of the resistance in the wires. So a little over 28 ohms resistance. Now, let's check on a new one and see if it's similar. You know, it's not optimal to touch because your hand has resistance in it. Right? Your skin is conductive. So you're better if you don't touch the leads whenever you're checking stuff like this. But I'm doing it one-handed. 51 ohms resistance. So what are we supposed to do with that, people? I think what I'm going to do is put it in and see if it sounds way screwed up or if it sounds fine. There's almost twice as much resistance in the new one than the old ones. That ain't right. But, you know, I'm working on this for a customer. And I talked with the gentleman. He is not a pinball guy. If you haven't been in sales, you may not understand what I'm about to say. Right? You're a pinball person, or there's no way in hell you'd be watching this video when I'm this deep into a pinball machine working on pinball chimes, right? You're a pinball person. This stuff matters to you. The guy that brought me this game is not a pinball person. Sure, he likes pinball. He likes that it's a Captain Fantastic pinball machine. He wants it to play. Him and his wife and his kids are going to play it. But is he the type of pinball person that's going to pay $15 plus shipping for 2 new coils to do the same thing that the other 2 coils that are already in there are already doing? It's going to be another 40 or 50 bucks, and I got to explain to him, well, I mean, I could lie to him, but I don't like lying to people, right? Remember, folks, I would never lie to make you buy. I got that from Eddie Stubbs. So if these work, I can't really tell a guy, hey man, these are the wrong ones. You should spend $50 and put slightly different ones in that'll work a little bit better, and the chime will be a little more loud or a little quieter or whatever it is. Right? I guess it would be a little louder. So if these work, I'm going to leave them in there because I don't want to. There's better things the guy could spend his money on, and he's already got to pay me to fix it. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I'd want it right in my machine. It's already kind of right. Somebody swapped them out. If they work, that's kind of right already, But we'll have to test that and see. If the things are way off and it just ain't right, it's nothing even close to right, then I'll see about ordering some new ones. But I hate charging customers for minor stuff like this that doesn't necessarily have to be replaced to make it correct. And I've had stuff worked on before where I've had to hire somebody to work on something, not a pinball machine. And you run into that attitude. I'll give you a good example. Let me give you a great example, okay? I took my truck to get the oil changed in it. Now, this was a truck that leaked oil. Okay? Old, worn-out engine. But I took it to go get the oil changed at the oil change place. The guy asked me, do you want conventional oil or synthetic oil? So I got conventional oil because that's what I always put in them anyway, and a lot of it's leaking out. Right? So the oil's leaking out of the damn engine. I'm going to have to put another quart of oil in it in a week. So I told the guy, just put conventional in it. He looked at me and rolled his eyes, right? Well, on these high mileage engines, really you should consider synthetic oil. I mean, it does a better job with the lubrication. And I said, the oil leaks out of this engine. It has a leak in the front, on the front seal, on the timing chain cover or whatever. And the guy says, well, synthetic's better at clogging up holes. Really, buddy? Your oil is going to stop my damn leak in the front of the engine? You really think that, And so it's I didn't want a guy to sell me the real nice oil. I wanted the guy to sell me the oil that they've been using for, 80 years and it works just fine. And it's not quite as good as the synthetic, but since we're pissing it out on the ground, I think I'll just go with the regular oil, right? I'm the customer. That's what I want, right? This guy's going to be in the same thing. He's not going to care that this chime and this chime might be a little quieter than this chime or whatever. It's not worth $40-$50 to him. And if I, as the expert, give him a big bunch of crap about, not leaving it how it is and, you got to do the right one. I just don't think that's an honest way to do business. I don't like doing that. I'll tell the guy it's got the wrong ones in it, but I'm not going to tell the guy that he should change it if it sounds fine. I'm just not going to. Deal with it, people. All right, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take this thing apart and clean it a little bit, right? And then we'll test it with the thing, but we don't have a way to test it yet since the freaking machine won't start. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I think if I hit the 10-point relay, it will make the chime work, even if it's in game over, I think. So maybe we can test it, and this rant will have a happy little ending. But let me get my nut driver, and we'll take this off, see how it looks in there, clean it up a little bit, and at least get it where it looks better. So I'm just cleaning all the parts and putting it back together, and I want to show you this. I always thought this was cool. It's still got the Alcoa stamp on it because this was just, bar stock that they were cutting in the factory to make these little chime boxes. They must have had some poor guy with a bandsaw there all day long going, and he had to make sure he did 3 different sizes so they sounded a little different. But very cool. So I'm just cleaning them up with a magic eraser, and we're putting them back together. This is the strike, the little plunger in there that comes up and hits it. The nylon actually hits it. I believe they did that. It may change the sound of it, but I think they did that just so it wouldn't actually. If it's metal on metal, eventually it's going to wear through. So you can see that there is a divot in it from the nylon. But I thought the stamp was cool. This would have been from 76 or 77. Very cool. All right. We'll keep at it. All right. I cleaned the little Jones plug, too. Got it nice and shiny. Here we go. It's kind of hard to mimic how it actually sounds in a game. That sounds pretty good to me. So we're going to go put it back in the game, and then I'm going to see if I can hit the the point relays and make them fire in the game, and see if they sound drastically off. Okay, folks, we got it mounted back in there, plugged in there. Here we go. I'm going to try to reach around the back and hit the point relay. Which one's that? The big one? Yep. So that's the big one. That's the old coil. Here's one of the new coils. Sounds fine. I think it sounds fine, people. That's completely acceptable. I looked online, and the difference between the two is it seems the old one is for the EMs. This machine would have been, what, 77, I think? And then by 78, they had changed to a new coil because they were using the newer one in the solid states. So, whatever. They seem to sound pretty close. So we're going to leave them like that. So leave your comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. We are about halfway through this thing. We got to keep working through it, though. We still have to work on the back box. We still have to work on the playfield, and then we still have to figure it out why it won't start a game and whatever else is broke on it. So leave your comments down below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. And we'll see you on the next one. We'd like to thank everybody that's been using our Amazon links. If you don't know about that, we mentioned it earlier, but if you go to our website or down below, there are links to Amazon. If you decide you're going to be buying something on Amazon, use our link and it gives us a tip. So we appreciate that. And don't forget to check out my brother Donnie. He's waiting on you. You can only resist it for so long. My brother Donnie is literally my brother here on YouTube. He has his own channel, and if you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you'd probably enjoy watching us work on old buildings. We've got a couple old buildings in a small town near here that we are fixing up, trying to help revitalize that small town's downtown area. Let's go check that out. I'll see you over there. But we'll see you tomorrow. Since it's December, this December we're running videos every day, all December. So the next video in this series will be up tomorrow. We'll see you then.